Kelly Bear here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a VR to my friend Simon over at the Hermit's Cave. He's created a really lovely tag. It's called Tarot Journey Through Decks, and he's made this in order to not only get to learn about the decks that are influential and important to folks, but also learn about us as readers and people just generally alongside that. I think that's really nice. I really enjoyed listening to him talk about his tarot journey, something that I've heard before and had personal conversations with him about. And my memory is so bad these days that there were bits that I had like completely forgotten. So it was like learning some of it all over again. And he spoke about it in such a cozy and magical way. It was such a joy to watch. And I wanted to join in. So there are 4 prompts. I'm just going to go through them one by one quickly. So the first one is the beginning, the deck that started it all for you. 2, the deepening, the decks that helped you grow and deepen your practice. 3, the now, the decks that currently resonate with you the most. And the 4th one is the milestones, any other decks that marked significant points in your journey. So that 4th one is meant to be peppered throughout the other ones as is appropriate for your personal tarot journey. Now, like I said, my memory is really bad, really wonky, very fuzzy these days. So this is to the best that I can remember. So we're going to start, as they say, at the beginning with my very first ever deck. So a little bit of story time as I slide this in here. Let's cast our minds back to 1997. I'm 16 years old and I have just walked into a esoteric and occult sort of mystical shop for the second time. It's the second time I've ever been in this shop. The previous time, the first time, was maybe a few weeks before. I'd gone in there with a friend. I'd never been in there before. She was taking me there specifically to see this treasure trove of a shop. I'd never seen anything like it, stacked to the gills with books and decks and crystals and all sorts of stuff, CDs of like meditations and whale song and appropriative items, let's be real, all sorts of stuff in there. And I just, my mind was agog, and in that shop there was a table in one section of it that had a big binder on it, a big ring binder, one of those big lever arch ones, and behind the binder was a wall of shelves with tarot decks on. All of these decks were in their packaging. You were not able to open them. They were not display decks. So this binder that I've just mentioned had these little plastic card holder pages in, and they would have a small selection of cards from each deck that they have available. And I'm going through this this binder and just sort of fascinated by these mystical cards. Now, I had a tarot reading, I think, by now at Camden Town Market. A friend of my sister's, her mum, was a tarot reader. She read with the Thoth, and she gave me a reading, and it was very spot on and very exciting from what I remember. I don't remember much about it, but I do remember her using a very well-worn, well-loved copy of the Thoth tarot. And it had never crossed my mind that this was something that I could do or I could own. You know, I'd seen tarot decks in films or in TV shows, and then, you know, this mother of a friend of my sister's she had my sister's friend later in life, so she was already people often mistook her for her grandmother, which was a bone of contention, understandably, for them both. But she seemed like this wizened woman that had, you know, this magical air about her. And this deck, and I'd never seen any decks anywhere for sale. I know now that you can buy, you know, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck in W.H. Smith, among many more nowadays. But I had never spotted that. So I'm looking through this binder, going, wow, I could get a tarot deck. This is exciting. But I had no money. We'd just gone after college by college I mean like sixth form college, not like in the US sense of college, because I was only 16. And I'd gone after college class with her at the end of the day to this shop because it was open a bit late, I remember, till like 7 or something. And I was blown away. So I was like, do you know what? I saw this deck that is in this box. It was the only deck that appealed to me. I'm pretty sure there was a Smith-Waite in there. There was a Morgan Greer, an Aquarian, a Robin Wood, all those, you know, classic mass market decks that we think of like the 90s and the noughties, 80s, 90s, noughties. And this was the only one that appealed to me. The colours, the artwork, just the vibe of it just felt very different to the others. And I was like, I am going to get this deck. And I went away and I saved my pennies. And one weekend, or maybe it was half term, because I'd not long started my A-levels, that much I remember. It was the autumn of 1997, if I remember correctly. And I went back on my own. Went on the underground, the London Tube, all the way to Leicester Square and walked up to Seven Dials, Great Monmouth Street near Covent Garden, and went into Mysteries. It's no longer there, unfortunately. This big double fronted shop space. And I was nervous. I was very shy, believe it or not, very well behaved and very shy child and teenager. And I was nervous because I didn't people very well, but I had to ask, I believe. I said, I would really like this deck, could you, because I think it was high up and I couldn't reach. I'm vertically challenged, I'm barely 5'2". And got this deck, went to the counter, paid for it. My goodness, the journey home. I remember the excitement knowing I had this box. Well, not this box, I made this box. The box, it was one of those big sort of VHS cassette type numbers. It fell apart years ago. It is absolutely like had to go in the bin. And I could just feel it burning a hole in my pocket, in my bag or other. And I got home, and it must have been a weekend or a half term. It must have been, because I must have gone in the morning, because I remember reading the book, and I'm pretty sure I read the book from cover to cover, and then I immediately started doing readings with it, like straight away. And the rest, as they say, is history, but we're going to go over that, right? And that deck, for anyone who's been watching my channel for any length of time, will already know what it is. It's the Osho Zen Tarot. I don't really work with it anymore. I did until up to a few years ago, I think it was. I sort of stopped working with it. Now, when I bought this, I had no idea about the whole, you know, who Osho was. I didn't know about the situation with their sort of their compound or what have you, their community in, was it Oregon, and all the drama that went down there. I wasn't aware about what this was really sort of based in when I first picked it up. I didn't know the philosophy it was based in. I can now that I know, I can see how this is also very rooted in Smith-Waite with its own sort of spin or veneer on it. This, if you're wondering why it looks so small and it doesn't have the little keywords, I trimmed this, and yes, this is my original 1997 copy that I have trimmed. The keywords, some of them I didn't mind at all, but some of them I found incredibly problematic, and so I just, once I'd done quite a few deck mods, I got the confidence to just trim this one. Yes, I could have bought another one and trimmed it, but it wouldn't have felt the same, because this is my OG, and I actually prefer it, yeah, without the keywords. There is since a pocket version, which I would like to get, I think, just because me and this deck go way back. And this was the only deck that I read with for years. Now, other decks did come into my life over that time, from the age of 16 to, I would say, early to mid-20s. The Shaman Kinsella Beginners Tarot Kit, and the Canon Reed Witches Tarot, and then there was an Oracle deck. It's I can't remember what it's called, but I've since got rid of that. It didn't really resonate with me. But neither of those two other decks, those tarot decks I mentioned, really worked for me for reading. And I had gone back to the same shop and bought them in person, so when I'm looking at these like 6 to 8 maybe cards that they've put in the binder, they're picking the best images from the deck, right? I don't know what the other like 70 to 72 cards look like. That's a lot, right? And so I would find I'd get back, and then these decks didn't appeal to me as much as I thought they would or would have liked them to, and so I carried on using this deck. I did readings when I was during my A-levels, when I was at fashion college and doing my degree. I think it came to Switzerland with me, Italy with me, a couple of other places, France, traveling, visiting friends. That's a great thing about going to an international fashion college, is you end up with lots of international friends and we get to go visit each other. Yeah, so it traveled quite a lot with me. And then, you know, I entered the realm of the working world. And as I gradually got more and more ground down by the working world, the adult world, and by oh goodness, what a mess I am making, and more distracted by other things, partying, relationships, various other things, this fell aside. And then by my late 20s I entered what I call my arsehole atheist phase, and I don't mean all atheists are arseholes. What I mean is I was an arsehole about it. I was such a dick about it, and I am no longer an atheist. I am an animist, neo-pagan if you like, but I predominantly would say I'm just an animist. And so for that period, the late 20s to the very early 30s, all my decks were put aside. I didn't get rid of them, which is interesting. I just put them aside. Fast forward to 2012, so I am 31. It's the end of 2012, maybe the beginning of 2013. I'm 31, 32. I don't know how I found her, but a video by a channel called The Four Queens, aka our very own Kellyanne Maddox, popped up in my YouTube recommended feed, and I watched a video. I don't even think I was searching for tarot stuff. I have no idea. I was probably looking at like why tarot is bullshit videos, because like I said, I was in my arsehole atheist phase. But the way Kellyanne was talking about the tarot was a very sort of self-help, psycho-spiritual way, which I had never really heard before. I'd only ever really heard about the sort of predictive, more sort of woo side, which is how I had read, you know, with this one. For all those years, and I was intrigued, and I was like, you know what, those other decks, so this one, the Canon Reed Witches, and the Shaman Caselli Beginners Tarot Kit, which I think it was my second or third copy of that I had, because I'd bought it and gifted it a couple of times for other people that wanted to get into tarot, because it didn't really jive with me, and then I'd bought it again with a version that you could colour in. And I went into the attic and pulled out my decks, and it was a real blast from the past. And so from then on, I really started getting into Tarot Tube, and my deck collection very slowly between end of 2012, beginning of 2013, and sort of maybe end of 2015, beginning of 2016, January 2016 is when this channel started. There was very slow, steady growth in my collection. I think by 2016, I had about 12 or 13 decks. I now have, I don't know, I haven't counted, maybe pushing 200, which is by some people's metric a lot, and by others not many at all. You know, if we're talking about Simon, who made this tag, I think he says in that video, you know, for this tag, that he has almost 1,000 decks. So mine sort of pales in comparison, but generally speaking, you know, 200 decks is still a lot, right? And that's including Oracle, Lenormand, playing cards, various other bits and bobs. And so I slowly started adding to my collection, and the next deck that was of note, shall we say, we're just going to backtrack a tiny bit, because, you know, wibbly wobbly timey wimey, Christmas 2014, I receive a deck from my spouse. I had put it on my wish list. It was something that I had asked for. And it's here in this little pouch, this little green pouch with the sparkly pink ribbon. And anyone, again, who knows me and has watched my channel for any length of time will know what this deck is. It is the Tarot of the Magical Forest. Yes, I have also trimmed this copy. It's a low Scarabeo deck, but it had all of the multilingual borders on, which I kept them on for about a year and a half, but I ended up chopping them off and edging in a green. This deck is very well loved. I don't know if it's going to show up, but it's really scuffed and sticky. Weirdly, it's not, I don't want to jinx myself now, I'm going to say this, but it's okay, like on the edges, like it's still bonded, considering I'm quite a clumsy overhand, case in point, clumsy overhand shuffler, and I'm a riffle shuffler generally. I'm struggling. My injury seems to slowly, my arm injury is slowly improving, so I can kind of riffle shuffle a little bit, but I can't do it too much because it does still cause pain and will, irritate the injury. But it's held up really bloody well considering the use that it gets. And this deck, so this was my first Smithwaite based deck. I mean, the Osho Zen, like I said, is technically based on the Smithwaite. It's the first like clone, shall we say, that really spoke to me, because me and the Rider-Waite Smith, the Smithwaite, whatever you want to call it, no, we didn't really fancy each other. We weren't really doing it for each other, and I didn't have a copy of the Smithwaite. I refused, absolutely refused. I was like, it's ugly, no, I don't like it. And so this is like, as you can see, there's no titles, borders or anything on it, and I know exactly what these cards are. I mean, it helps that I now know the Smithwaite very well, back to front and inside out. Oh god, there's my little guy Hermie. Ugh, it's so cute. It's a straight up, Smithwaite clone. It just makes me so happy. It's joy in a deck. It's a hug deck. It will bitch slap you. Like, it don't get it twisted. Like, it will read you for filth. But it does so. It'll like it. There's aftercare, is what I'm saying. Like, come on. Many people own this deck because of me waxing lyrical about it, and some people have been like, oh no, this is not for me, and other people have also fallen in love with it, which is great. I love this. So we hear how we have the frogs for the wands, the foxes for pentacles, we have the little kitty cats for the swords, and we have rabbits for cups. Let me see if I can find a rabbit. There we go, rabbits for cups. It's so cute. And the reason that this is I'd call it a milestone. Did I say? I don't know if I described which of the prompts this was going to be. It's a milestone in the fact that I went, oh, hang on, this Smithwaite and stuff, like, there's something to this, because I've been reading the Osho Zen. I think I had I got the Deviant Moon in 2015, I think. But this was like my gateway drug into like Smithwaite decks, because the Shaman Caselli deck is also a Smithwaite clone. And it's perfectly serviceable, but it just didn't do it for me. I wasn't excited to read with it. So, I didn't really dig in or learn the true Smithwaite quote unquote meanings, what are the meanings, but you know what I mean. Learning sort of the general meanings of the cards. They can be very flexible and elastic and capacious, as we know. And this was my gateway. This was a milestone, which was very quickly followed by another milestone. And that was that I saw people talking about a Smithwaite deck that was actually attractive. It didn't have the garish colours. It didn't have the chunky, weird, clumpy line work of the ones that tell you, like the plaid back, or the one that you could get at the Waite Tarot. What's it called? The traditional Waite Tarot, whatever it's called, from W.H. Smith, with the purple box and the blue and white lilies and roses back. And I was like, well, hang on, let's have a look at this deck. And I think it must have come out about 6 years previously, because I got this in 2015. And it's an anniversary. It's a centennial deck, an anniversary deck. And obviously I've just given away what it is. It's the Centennial Smithwaite. So this was another milestone, one milestone followed by another milestone. This deck, it's the first time I ever looked at a Smithwaite and went, oh, oh, you're so pretty. How are you so pretty? And it's the muted tones. The yellows aren't quite so garish. It's the more cream background. It's the lighter, more detailed line work. I prefer the backs. They're my favourite Smithwaite backs. I was like, let's get a proper Smithwaite and knuckle down. Let's start learning it properly, shall we? And yeah, this and the Magical Forest was like my gateway into Smithwaite. But then there came the Deepening, which was brought on. I don't quite word. I don't know. Brought on. The Deepening was brought on. I don't know. This sounds a bit weird. By another deck that I had oohed and ahed over. So picture it. I am back in Mysteries. It is the end of 2015. I'm gonna go have a little look at some tarot decks. Now, in the time since I'd sort of been going to Mysteries to get decks, they had expanded their collection of decks available, and also because more and more decks were becoming available. But they had moved the deck section to the other, because it was a two-shop premises, that they were the connecting area in the middle and at the back, because they just had so much space, and they had moved them to the back section where they also sold the CDs and the cassette tapes. This time they had decks that were, you know, display copies. Ooh, so the binder was gone, be gone binder. I could get my grubby little bear paws on the decks themselves, and I was in there for like an hour looking at all the decks, touching them all up, being a little deck fondler, sniffing the cardstock, all that, being a little weirdo in the back there. The woman behind the counter in the music section at one point, like about half an hour in, was like, are you okay? Do you need any help? And I was like, I felt a bit embarrassed. I was like, oh, maybe I need to come up with a question. I was looking at the Tarot of the Cats. Tarot of the Cat people, that's it. And I knew there was a book that you could get separately. I went, oh yeah, do you by any chance have a copy of the book that you can buy separately for this deck? And she was like, I don't think so, but let me go check for you. But they did not, because if they had, I would have actually bought that deck there and then. I still don't know that deck, weirdly. I was there for at least another half an hour, and I ended up surprising myself and coming home with the Deviant Moon. But on that very same trip, I saw a deck that is in this bag that I had seen it about. I'd seen it online. I'd seen interviews with the creator and the writer of the guidebook. And I was like, oh, hell, that is one fugly deck. Nope, hell no. And then I see it in person and I open up. I'm like, I'll have a little look. Just have a look, see how ugly it is. And yeah, it's ugly. And again, anyone that's been watching my channel for a while, if I say visual vomit, it will give you the clue to what is in here. Everything, including the kitchen sink, as I like to say. But my goodness, I could not stop thinking about this damn deck. I got home and I'm like, did this deck cast a spell on me? What the heck? It was on my mind. It was like a hyper focus. I put it on my little wish list. I didn't get it for Christmas. I was a bit sad about that. It was still on my wish list for my birthday. And in my birthday in 2016, the month that I started this very channel, my spouse got me this deck. And I was like, the hyperfocus continues, and it is the Tarot Illuminati by Eric C. Dunn. Yeah, I mean, this deck, it's a lot. It's kind of fugly. It's got like some weird proportions. The digital illustrations kind of funky, but there's like this charm to it. It's a bit like, you know, people that really love Ciro Marchetti decks. Like, I've never really been able to get into his decks other than the Gilded Reverie Lenormand, which I've fallen in love with, weirdly, even though I'm aware that it's cheesy, you know what I mean? A bit like Sylvie over at Tarot Magpie, they've fallen in love with like a mini Ciro deck, and they're like, there's something like, it's so like over the top and ridiculous, but like I love it, is what they say. And I'm like, yeah, this is how I felt about this deck back then. And why this is a milestone is, I loved my magical forest, and I was really falling in love with the Smith way, and that was really good for study. But because this is so intensely over illustrated almost, for some reason I found this really good for learning the Smith-Waite meanings, and I had a journal dedicated, and I was pulling a card or two a day. And then I decided to buy the book that you get separately for this. It's the guide to the complete guide to the Tarot Illuminati by Kim Huggins. I still have it. I still use it. And between sort of that and like learning the tarot by Joan Bunning, like sort of going back through that, dipping back through that, because I'd had that book for a good long time, since the early noughties, I think 2002, 2003 maybe, ever since it came out, I think. And yeah, they really, Tarot 101 by Kim Huggins was another good workbook. Really helped me dig in. So between this and the Magical Forest and the Centennial, it like really helped hammer them home. But this was a milestone because, so I just like knocked the camera, and then I'm like putting my hand right in your face, sorry. Yeah, this was a real milestone, because I feel like this was I would like to say that it was these two, well, they're not in there at the moment, that helped me like crack the Smith-Waite. But it was this one. So it was a milestone, and part of me hates that this was the deck that did it, and part of me finds that just very, very funny, because I was so resistant to it. I don't know. So yeah, it's a lot. I don't have any other decks by this creator, but you know, there's a bordered version, I think, as well. But this is obviously this I haven't trimmed this. This comes on without a border and with the gilding. It's the big box set. And then I think you can get just the deck on its own, and it has a small black border, and it's not gilded, if I remember correctly. So yeah, so that was the next milestone. And then that was probably around the same time followed by another milestone. I know, what the heck? So, you know, I've been around on the tarot tubes. I've been, you know, first I'm watching the videos 2013. I'm just watching, maybe commenting. 2014, Kelly Fitz at The Truth in Story, she comes along and she's doing her live chats and things. And so I'm not only am I watching videos and occasionally commenting and like not just creeping around on people's channels, but I'm like getting involved in people's live chats. And you know, she used to do them at 9 p.m. UK time on a Saturday night, and I was always there because quite often my spouse would be off DJing or playing a gig with their band, one of their bands, and so I would often have the Saturday night a bit, you know, sort of free, or you know, I would work a lot of the weekends doing hair and makeup, and so I would you know, join the live chat. And if I had to be up at like 6 in the morning for a wedding job, I would then go to bed after that. You know, it was my little nightcap before tootling off to bed. Rock and roll, people, rock and roll. And this is where, you know, the realm of all these like gorgeous indie decks really start at least becoming known to me. Obviously indie decks have been around for a very long time, but they started to pique my interest, and I was like, oh, you know what, I would like to purchase an indie deck. And within quick succession, around the same times, I bought the Ellis Tarot, which I don't have anymore, I did pass it on, the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot, which I do still have, and the Bonfire Tarot. So I'm just showing one of them. So this amongst the, and those other two were milestone decks, because I bought myself an indie tarot deck. I had previously been gifted an indie tarot deck by a friend of mine. My friend Anya gifted me the Darkada Tarot. It was a signed copy, and I think she knows the creator of the deck as well. I think it's a UK based creator, and that was my first, like, I think that was the first sort of indie deck that I'd ever like seen in person, and sort of really thought, oh yeah, this is a thing that people do, they create their own decks. And so this was a milestone for me. This is there were some before this that were done in the handmade felt pouch. I got the very last. This was when it was just going out of stock, because obviously we know it got picked up mass market and has now had 2 printings. Dear Kelly, here is your Bonfire Tarot. I hope it suits. Love, Gabby Angus West. And this is like the little hand sewn, hand drawn, so lovely. It's just those little touches like that that make it so special. And yeah, this was one of the decks that spoke to me. I loved the Ellis deck, but I feel like I got the standard size, and then I trimmed it thinking that would help make the artwork, I don't know, I was just on a trimming binge, and I think I sort of was looking for decks to trim, and I thought this will be the one, this will look great without borders. Reader, I didn't like it that size without borders. I know there's a larger, or there has been a larger copy, at least in the past, that is borderless, and I think it works for a bigger deck, but actually I felt like the smaller size, because then the artwork's so scrunched in, needed that white border to separate the busy artwork, and so I did pass it on. I sold it on to a friend. As you can see here, this has a very dark, it's not black, a very dark blue, or like very dark indigo blue border, and actually the second edition, the second printing from Red Feather, is it, Schiffer's tarot and oracle deck department, they've done away with the border, which I know a couple of people have said they would have preferred that they kept the border, because it helps. Just this, again, this artwork is incredibly busy. On saying that, the Tarot Illuminati is very busy, and that doesn't have a border, and that works great for me. But yeah, I do like it. The border on this one. So yeah, so this is why, like, real foray into buying myself indie decks. So that was a milestone, because that opens that floodgate, and now I have a whole host of indie decks. I don't have as many indie decks as I would like, because a lot of them that I would want are from overseas, and they're very expensive. With the shipping and the customs and everything, that's gotten worse with the with like Brexit and stuff, which is a real shame, because I mean, if I had more money to spend, like if I had more money to spare, I would buy more indie decks. But, you know, when the shipping can sometimes be the same as or more than, and sometimes twice the price of the deck itself, then you get hit with customs. Like, it's as it stands at the moment, like I can't justify that at the moment. But yeah. This was one of the 3 decks that kicked that all off. Also, I just realised, I think I referred to this as both a deepening and a milestone, but it was, I meant to say, clarify that it was a deepening deck, because it's what made me like really dig in with the Smith Waite. So to clarify, because my memory is all over the place. My memory is really bad, and I'm all over the place today. Full disclosure, I tried filming, this is the afternoon I'm filming this, I tried filming it this morning for like over half an hour, and I just kept, I just couldn't get my words out, I kept fluffing, it was just a disaster, and I just was like, do you know what, let's just can it. I think I was also getting stressed because my phone that I'm filming on, the battery was really running down, because it wasn't full when I didn't charge it first thing this morning, and so I think I felt like I was racing against time, and, you know, we're already 32.5 minutes in here, but, you know, this is just going to be, it's going to be a long video. It's a long video. But yeah, so if I like mess up at any point now, I'm just going to keep on trucking, and that's probably why this video feels a little chaotic. Right, I'm going to cross off my little list here, because I keep forgetting to I'm terrible referring to my bloody notes. Okay, Centennial, Bonfire, Illuminati, that's done. Okay, next we're on to the 6th deck. Now this is, yes, it's a milestone. It's another milestone. My journey, my tarot journey, the road of tarot for me is littered with milestones. I'm just racing down this track. Now, I totally misremembered the order in which I got the next decks that I'm showing you. This very next deck that I'm going to show you, I was so certain came after the deck that I'm going to show you after this one, but I went through my channel, my videos, just to sort of get an idea to see if I was remembering things in the right order, because like I said, my memory is absolute trash these days. And no, I was wrong, and it was actually this one came first. This deck, this is a milestone for the very reason that I always said I would never, ever purchase a deck of this style. And you already know, right? People are like shouting at the screen, I already know what it's going to be. And this was because, and I'm going to mention what Simon mentioned in his video, that Kelly Fitz and I think it was with Patrick Fogarty. They came up with the March of the Pips challenge, question mark, practice, words, what are words, bloody hell, they escape me, and I was like, you know what, she's talking me around, she's convincing me, she's very convincing like that. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to damn well find one that I like, and I will purchase it. And that was, of course, it was going to be annoying and be a vintage deck, but I managed to find a copy for like £10 or £11 on eBay, brand new, still in the wrapper. The box wasn't, but the deck was. The deck was in a bit of a state, to be honest. The box was in a bit of a state. And the cellophane on the outside was quite yellowed and crinkled because it was old, but it was still in it. And I was like, wow, so this is over 50 years old now. I think this is it's either 1972 or 1974. Does it have a date on it? No, it does not, because it's not fucking US Games that want to put their bloody date on everything. And it's got the plaid back. And do you know what? I've never been a fan of the plaid back until I got this deck. And do you know what? It reminds me of the foil or the wrapping in like cigarettes, or at least the cigarettes that my dad used to smoke when I was a kid. Yeah, I know, right? Smoking around your children. He doesn't smoke anymore, but he did, because the 80s. Fucking hell. And it's like a creamish, an off-white, not so much a cream, but an off-white with a red going one way in various thicknesses, and then the same thing going the other way in a gold, a very, very light metallic. And I don't know if it's gonna show up. I mean, just like doing this, you're not gonna be able to see shit, are you? But and I kind of hated it, but now I love it, because it doesn't go with the front at all. Like, what? But I think it's just back then they would just go, I'll just whack that on the back, you know, like with playing cards. They're just, I'll just whack that on the back, and it didn't matter if it matches or not. So but the reason I fell in love with this, I mean, it's a Marseille, but it's not a true Marseille. So first of all, titles, they're in English. It's not a sort of, I don't really know, I can't remember if I looked into it and I've since forgotten, or I just never looked into it. Both are possible, knowing me. These bulbous cups, which historical deck they're placed on, but the colours, this gorgeous, like this blue, this golden yellow, this magenta, and then this teal green. It's just it's yummy, it's scrumptious. Little but what is happening with those buns? And I just fell in love with it. So yeah, it's all, they're all in English, which is not, you know, look at this colour. I mean, the colour difference between the camera and real life is a bit different, but it's showing pretty well. It's so scrumptious, and it makes me happy. And actually, this is the deck that I do a lot of tarot study with. I class this as my main tarot study deck. I do have other study decks, and I'm going to get to that, but this is the one. Even now, if I'm like, I'm going to do some Marseille study, or I'm going to pull out a Marseille book and have a little read, this is the deck that I have with me, with my notebook and, you know, the textbook or guidebook or reference book that I'm reading, looking at. So yeah, it's become a real friend, and it's a good size. It's AGM. It riffles beautifully. It's just this is the perfect cardstock to me. That 1970s AGM cardstock is my favorite. It's not too shiny, it's not too matte, it's not too thick, not too thin. The size of these are the right for my little hands. It's not too thick, yum. So yeah, this was a milestone, because I was like, I am never buying a pip deck, I'm never buying a Marseille deck. I don't understand how you read them. Those traditional ones, you know, the facsimiles or redrawings of historical decks, they are so ugly, get them away from me. I was just like, no. So this was my this was my concession to that. Did I do March of the Pips? I think I did about 3 days and fell off it, which is pretty standard for me. I've spoken about my problem with challenges in the past, which if you went along with the Tarot Advent at the end of last year, you'll know about. So this was a milestone. I bought a pip deck. So then we get on to Deepening again. I don't keep doing that. Deepening. Deepening. I don't. That's weird. Don't do that. I'm going to go get some other decks for you. Now, I think the Kickstarter for this deck was around either the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, and I think it was because it was the first Marseille deck that I actually fell in love with. Which is why I always think that I got this before I got the one that I've just shown you. But this arrived in the summer of 2018. So I already had the other one, but I think I'd already backed this one. So that's where it goes weird in my brain box. Where I'm going to chuck this. Okay, just pop that box there. So this was the reason that this is a deepening is this, you know, I was inspired for, I don't know, for some unknown reason. Not because, you know, it's full of hottie bum bodies, but like I just yeah, I was like very interested in learning the Marseille. But there were two other decks that were very pivotal to my deepening. I keep want to say it like that. Deepening with the Marseille, and that was the Marshmallow Marseille, and that's because I got Tom Benjamin's Tarot on Earth, highly recommend, by the way. That was that can I speak, you know, that workbook with these three decks that I'm going to show you, much like the Smith-Waite the Centennial Smith-Waite, the Magical Forest, and the Illuminati were my like Smith-Waite, like knuckle down, get it in your brain box type decks. These three, and this was the CBD Marseille, Yoav Bendov. He'd already died by the time I got this one, sadly, but I'd known about his work for a while and his book and everything. So these were the three decks that really, with Tom Benjamin's book and Untold Tarot by Caitlin Matthews, really helped me get to grips with the Marseille. And, you know, it's so funny to me even to this day, because I used to shit on this kind of deck. Like this, I'm like, oh, they've made it pretty. Yay. But then I'm like, and then I was like, oh, but this is like more closer to a traditional, but it's cutesy, right? And then, you know, I'm going full tilt into redrawings of like Camwan decks. Oh, how things change. So real like what is happening? Get my mind out of the gutter. Getting stuck in. Oh yeah. To this is a weird video. It's getting weird. I'm sorry. I am tired. I'm over caffeinated. I'm wired. I've tried filming this morning. It was not going to plan, and now it's just we're going full tilt with descent into the twilight zone. Yeah, it's just I'm forever grateful to these decks, and now I have so many like classic Marseilles, traditional looking Marseilles, as well as some like really funky Marseilles as well, like a real mix. Basically, I love me some Marseille and Pip decks now, and that is pretty amazing, I think. Okay, last few decks now. So I don't know if I got this deck I'm going to show you in 2018 or 2019. It was sent to me by Simon, the very Simon of the Hermit's Cave, who made this tag. And it was because I was doing a gift exchange with a tarot friend in Canada, and she sent out a box of goodies, but she didn't send it tracked or insured because it would have been so expensive to do so. So she said, I'm just going to send it on a wing and a prayer. And it was chock full of stuff, including, you know, an indie deck. And it went missing. It went missing. It never ever showed up, which is such a shame. And I feel terrible for her because she put all sorts of lovely things. She did, about a year or so later, she sent another package, which I think she did send tracked, that had like some lovely bits and bobs in, which is very sweet of her, because she yeah, I guess she wanted to share some of her arts and crafts and do a little swap. And yeah, just sort of, I think because of the whole situation with the previous one, which is like, it happens, right? It's mail goes missing. I do sometimes, like every now and then, wonder where that package is. Was it destroyed? Did someone end up with it that shouldn't have? Like, where is it sitting in a corner of a room somewhere, like at a post office depot? I don't know. And I was so upset because I was so excited about getting this deck, and this deck was out of print. It was indie, but out of print. And so I told Timon, oh, it's gone missing. Then a package turns up. I think I filmed an unboxing and put it up, actually, me unboxing this, being a sobbing, snivelling, snotty, crying mess, because he put in his very own independent version of the deck that, for all he knew, he was never going to be able to get a copy of. If he did, he would have to like search for one. And that is a deck that was such a milestone for me, and that is The Next World Tarot by Christy C. Road. I followed the creation of this. I love Christy's artwork, and I was, you know, when this came out, I was in a position, one of those times where I wasn't really in a position to be able to get a copy. So I was gutted. And then it went out. Oh God, knocking the thing. Then it went out of print. We now know it's mass market. I would like to get the full size mass market because it's less glossy. I do have the pocket version, which that goes out and about with me quite a lot. It's one of my go-to travel decks. And my goodness, this is a milestone. So many milestones. Am I cheating? I don't know, excuse me. That was my lunch, sorry. It's, and it, you know, it's the next world. It's visioning the next world. What comes next? I'm gonna have to move this a little bit so you can see a bit better, because it's very glossy cards, so very big cards. It does have keywords. It's got things like the planets and the star signs and things at the bottom, which is you know, the element Earth, Virgo, Mercury for the magician, so that's for the mages. And then here we have the, where is that, Page of Swords, Home of Action. So let me find another, just find another court card, because I do like that it has the, there we go. So we have the King of Cups, the Throne of Movement. Really interesting. Page of Wands, the Home of Fire. Look. So yeah. And it's radical. It's radical. The guidebook is great. Like, it really, I just love it. And the reason this is a milestone is that, you know, I think by this point, by this point, I already had the Sasarai Beto and the buttholes, what's it called? The Luminous Tarot by Cedar McLeod. And those both are really like pushing boundaries in their own ways, but this was just so like out there, really just so radical and so, I just saw my community, both my personal like instant community, and then like my community, larger community that I live in, like the community of London, like just the world in general, like just, it was such a moment, it's I think it'll just be one of those decks that will always be important to me. The Lovers card, if I can find, I mean, this is a beautiful depiction of the Sun card. Will I be able to, if I can, the Lovers card, just, like, I just could cry looking at the Lovers card, because I saw myself, I saw my friends. It was just, and I know, again, you don't always have to see yourself in a deck, people will say, but for me, seeing my community and seeing myself was just, you know, one would say as a white woman, I'm going to see myself in, you know, the Smith weight, and that's true. But I'm, you know, as someone who is chronically ill, and sometimes has had to use a walking aid in the past, chronically ill, disabled, queer, you know, in a queer relationship, like I really saw myself here, seeing, you know, larger bodies, different ages. It wasn't all just skinny white people. Where is the, there we go, like content warning for boobs, I guess, but like this one really hit me. And I've spoken about this so many times. Whenever I show this deck, I show this card, but it just, I cannot overstate just even this one card, how important it was. We're seeing someone being reached out to from by them, like their self coming to them tenderly. You know, this person is using a walking aid, so they're like chronically ill, disabled, what have you. Maybe they have like an energy limiting illness, or an illness that causes lots of pain, something that I relate to, suffer with, and they're handing them spoons. So anyone who's aware of spoon theory will understand this is something used by the chronic illness community, and since also now the like sort of mental like health issue community and so on and so forth. But it's sort of garnered more popularity, but people are more aware of it. But just them handing them spoons and like really tenderly, I feel myself welling up. I saw, myself, and it was just such a beautiful depiction of the lovers. It's so profound, and that's just one card. Like, oh my god. Like another sort of, which is sort of seen like the Lovers card of the Minor Arcana. I mean, the look on this couple's face. Oh, so this was a real milestone. And then I was like, oh my god, I want all the queer and radical decks. I'm slowly building up a collection. I'm doing pretty well. There's still more to go. There's still more decks that I want, and I want to support queer and disabled deck creators of colour, and interestingly creators from marginalised groups. Not always, but I'm noticing tend to they're creating really sort of decks that are pushing the boundaries, that are more radical, that are more diverse, that are more inclusive, that are speak to our world as it is, or how we would want it to be, which I really, really love. Wow, this is getting really long, and I only have a couple more decks to show you now. Actually, it's 3. I lied. Another milestone. Oh, sorry. Actually, I will say that the next world's not only a milestone, but a deepening, because it took that Smithwaite. I'm just showing you the bag. Like, that certainly helped me. Although it's based in like a lot of like Smithwaite imagery, meanings and what have you, the imagery is very different. It's not a clone, and it's really, although I had other decks that were doing different things, there wasn't a deck that was taking such a radical look at the tarot, which is now making me think of Charlie Claire Burgess's book Radical Tarot, which I feel like takes some of the work that Christy C. Rode has done, and is like expanding on that, or adding to that. Which is really, really great. So it was the first time I really saw and thought of tarot as something that could be truly radical. It's always been something that's been on the margins. It's always been something that has been practiced by marginalised groups. It has been vilified. It's been made illegal in places. People, even to this day, there are places where people can get into a lot of trouble and or serious harm if they're practicing their tarot. I consider myself incredibly lucky to be able to be here in London just chatting about tarot and my ridiculously like large collection of decks that is entirely unnecessary, but does make me very, very happy to have. So that in that sense it was a real sort of deepening of my understanding of what tarot can be just generally, and also of the sort of taking those Smithwaite meanings and pushing it, and then seeing those like that's very tactile, very distracting myself. What was I saying? I've completely lost the thread of what I was saying. Can you hear how husky my voice is? Because I tried filming this video so many times this morning, and now I've been gassing for nearly an hour non-stop. Holy hell balls. I'm going to have a sip of tea. Hang on a minute. Oh, that'll have to do. Right, so, what was I saying? Yeah, like looking at that next world, and you see like all the little keywords into phrases under the court cards, and like the planetary information and elemental information stuff, made me think of another deck. Now, this is another situation where I was like, I am never ever gonna have one of these decks. I'm never gonna buy it. I'm never gonna learn it. I don't care, because this creator, this guy, was such an edgelord. and really was his own hype man. But actually, the artist who did the work did an amazing job, and you know, she played a huge role in creating this deck, so let's give her flowers. Also, the artwork is amazing. That was the thing, right? The guy is a dick, but the artwork is really beautiful, and that is still, I keep knocking the fucking camera, I'm so sorry. It's the Thoth Tarot. This is sorry, I'm trying to stabilize this phone in its cradle. And this is the Thoth Deluxe. It's the large version. And the reason I got this big daddy version was because I was like, well, I'll learn it off by heart and then I'll trim it, because I cannot deal with all this gubbins on it, you know, this like over the top border and then all this stuff. You've got like the Hebrew letter from the Kabbalah, you've got like astrological planetary symbols, you've got like keywords, and then like you've got like the Trump, and then obviously I just fell in love, not obviously, but I mean what happened was I fell in love with it as it is. And actually, because I thought it was going to absolutely do my hands in, because I wouldn't be able to riffle shuffle it, but I learned to side shuffle big decks, and this was the first one that I think I learned to side shuffle them. And I love this size. That's what she said. I love it. I love a big one. So it's just one of those days, folks. Oh, look at all those greens and purples. Green and purple, my two favorite colors. Look at that. Yummo, yummo. And yeah, I fell in love with it. I read the what's his chops, Lon Milo DuQuette's book. I didn't read Crowley's one. Maybe one day I will, but I don't really have much patience for the guy, to be honest, because he was a bellend. Crowley, that is, not Milo DuQuette. Yeah, I fell in love. The first reading, I did a 1-card pull with this deck before I commenced my studies, and it was such a hard hitter. Like, it was such a beautiful, hard-hitting, deep reading just from 1 card. It like blew my mind. I was like, okay, this is what you're putting down. Okay, I'm in. I haven't done a huge amount of Thoth study since that massive hyper focus. That was around 2021, I want to say. So we were well into, like, I want to say it was 2021. Was it though? I just want to see if I can find my Thoth journal, because that'll be dated. No, I can't find my Thoth journal. I don't know what I've bloody done with it. It's probably up on a shelf somewhere at the top there. I can't reach. No mind. I think it was 2021, and we were all like going cuckoo banana pants from like being on lockdown and stuff. And I think I was like, fuck it, like, might as well just learn Thoth. And that's, you know, I wouldn't say I've learnt it. I would say that I got over my fear. I think part of it was the fear of, like, you know, all of the astrology and the Kabbalah, which are not my bag at all. There's issues with appropriation with those as well. I've never been interested in decans. It's something that I'm slowly sort of working my thoughts and feelings around a bit more. But why am I showing this again? Oh boy. Yeah, so I have a bunch of other Thoth decks that I would like to read. Books. And I think I have a couple of other Thoth based decks, but I can't think off the top of my head. But this is the only one that's like based, like, with Frida Harris work. I don't have any sort of redrawings of this at all. I'd love a greenie. That's like the dream. That's one of my unicorn decks, is a greenie. But yeah, so come to my channel for such sizzling insights as, but yeah. Right, well, I think I've had enough blimmin' milestones, and I've gotten as deep as it can go. We're right up in there. So the final one, the third prompt, but it's weirdly not the final one, which is the decks that currently resonate with you the most. And I have underlined currently when I've written that down, because I am a fickle bitch. Let me tell you, I have so many, and you have to be. If you have so many decks, you need to be a little bit fickle. But I do have my core cadre of tarot bitches, whatever. My little, anyway. This is getting so weird at this point. Can you tell I'm tired? I've got a D&D game tonight. I'm going to be awake till at least midnight, and that's going to go great. We're only at, like, I think it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if that. This is No, it's not even 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Holy shit, I've got at least another 9 hours awake. I'm going to need coffee. Anyway, you don't need to know that. That is not interesting to you. But we're at I have a, like, what was I saying? Slow down. I could pause the video whilst I collect myself. I'm a bit hot. I'm not talking myself up. I'm actually genuinely a bit. It's warmer today than it has been in weeks. I'm going to have to open the window. Hold on. I just have to hope there isn't some bell end that's going to start making a racket out the back, because that often happens, because London. So yeah, I even though I have loads of decks, there are, and I've said this before, there are decks that I go back to again and again and again. So the Magical Forest is one of them. The Centennial Smithwaite is kind of one of them. What other ones have I showed? Well, obviously the Next World Tarot was one of them. The Numinous Tarot, which I've mentioned but not shown, is one of them. And then there's a bunch of others, right? Like Marseille and Pip and what have you. I go back to them again and again and again, but that's still quite a large selection. So I'm going to say the two that I resonate with the most, okay, the system that I resonate with the most is the Smithwaite, is the Marseille. What is going on? I don't even know if I can't not put this up after filming for a bloody hour. Anyway, my favourite system is the Marseille. What I meant to say is I still work with Smithwaite. Smithwaite is still a part of my practice, which I was trying to say, but my brain got all twisted and it came out all wrong. Anyway, so a deck that resonates with one of the decks that resonates with me the most, because I could make a whole video just about the decks that resonate with me the most currently, and it would be like a lot still, right? That I go to again and again and again. Oh, fuck me. I'm so sorry. I keep knocking the arm that is holding the bloody phone. Woof. Okay, can I get it to stop? And that is one of my favourites, is the Sasaribito, or the Sassy Burrito, as Kelly Fitz nicknamed it. And I do hope that Stacia Burrington enjoys that nickname, because obviously it's based on a Japanese word. Sasaribito is a Japanese word, very beautiful, sort of philosophical word. But the Sassy Burrito is, I think, in lovingly nicknames the Sassy Burrito, a bit like I lovingly call my Dirty Pam the Dirty Pam. This is one of my favourite 4 cards ever. I mean, come on. This is the very glossy second printing. I do have the Tiny Traveller version. I very kindly sent a Tiny Traveller by a friend last year, and that's downstairs in the area where I have my bags and bits and bobs before I go out. So that's another one of my go-to on-the-go decks. That and the Morgan Grey in a tin, my mini Marseille Pont Vie by Auntie Kay. I'm like really building up quite a tasty selection of mini decks. If I collect a couple more, I might do an updated mini deck collection. I don't think I've had any new ones for a while, so there's not point in me doing one at the moment. But if I get like another handful by the end of the year or beginning of next year, so relatable. This was me last summer chopping all my hair off, 4.5 years of hair growth. I love this deck. I go back to it again and again. It's very gentle. I feel very held by this deck. It deviates enough from the Smithwaite to keep it interesting. The artwork is beautiful. I love the depiction of older people in it. I think that's something that we don't see enough of. It's just very, it's lovely. It's a lovely, nurturing, but not cloying deck. Gina. So yeah, I mean, about that for a take on the Six of Swords. Absolutely stunning. So yeah, this is one of those decks that on occasion I have to hide away, because I will just keep grabbing it. I will just go for it again and again and again. So there have been times, along with some of my other fave decks like the Magical Forest and the Numinous, a couple of others, I've literally had to hide them out of the way, out of sight, out of mind, because, you know, my neurospicy brain does forget that things exist when they're out of my sight. And so yeah, that's one. And then another one that is really resonating with me currently, The Gay Marseille by aforementioned Charlie Claire Burgess. I mean, this deck, I mean, first of all, that seafoam greenback, yummo. The colours in this deck, and very clearly I like to have pink and purple in my Marseilles, which are not, you don't often see. There's a really delicious shade of pink in the Taroki 23 by Tarot Midnight. I really like a copy of that one day as well. So many decks, not enough pennies. And, you know, when people go, I wouldn't tell anyone if I won the lottery, but if I did, there'd be signs. The signs would be that I would have moved to like a massive house, and there would be in a room entirely dedicated to just a ridiculous tarot collection and library of books. This is a Marseille. Charlie. Where do I start? Such a fangirl of Charlie's. Their work is wonderful. Their decks and their books, all of which are a huge and important influence on me these days and a huge part of my practice. And I'm very excited about the next book that they have coming up, I think this year. It's an unabashedly queer deck. And yes, that it's not my entire personality, but it is important to me because, yes, I am a queer person, and I have a very large proportion of my friends are also, you know, they're fellow queers and or neurodivergent and or chronically ill people. Birds of a feather flock together, hey? So if you're going to read for yourself or for the people you care about, you want to, it's great. It's just great. Look at that back. Oh, it's beautiful. Now, these are just two of the decks that resonate with me currently. I mean, this one's been resonating with me for about 7 years. I got this about 7 years ago. This one I've had for less than a year, but, you know, it's become a firm fave. I could easily have picked Charlie Claire Burgess's Fifth Spirit Tarot as a Smith-Waite and the Triomphe della Luna Paradoxical Rose as the Marseille. Like, those are two decks that I gravitate to all the time. And actually, just off the cuff, I do have one other deck that is currently resonating with me, which was a surprise purchase. I surprised myself purchasing it last month. I had to pause while I went and grabbed it. So, and that is the Unfolding Path Tarot. Mass market. The cardstock is bobbins. It's so thick. It's so, you know, it is what it is. But I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy this deck, honestly. And I'd watched walkthroughs. I really enjoyed hearing Tom Benjamin talk about it. Actually, I think he talked about it in one of his more recent videos, but I haven't watched that yet. It's about underrated decks, I think, is the video, but I have it on my to watch list. I haven't watched it yet. I'm very behind with my tarot tube viewing. I'm trying to catch up on all the like Critical Role stuff and a bunch of other things, which are like very long form videos that take hours and hours and hours to watch. So then it sort of eats into my tarot tube watching time. We have to sort of balance these things. Yeah, we have lovely depictions of older people, different abilities, different skin tones, different body sizes. I really like the watercolor. Like, you can even see the texture of the watercolor paper. Oh, there's some lumber. This is very, like, quite pippish. And then you've got this here where we have this character. I'm calling it Claire Danes because she looks like Claire Danes, but just with blonde hair and pink stripes. I've had blonde hair with pink stripes before. I used to have blonde hair with a pink streak at the front, and I would do victory rolls, and that pink streak would go through like the victory rolls on that side. Anyway, sidetracked. So, like, look how expressive this face is. Isn't that gorgeous? So yeah. This is such a long video. I really probably shouldn't have shown this final deck, but that's 14 decks in total, I believe now, because I'd counted out 13 and I've just chucked this other one on there. Like, I love the ones have this like red crystal tip as well. So yeah, this was I mean, trying to get it filmed this morning was a bit of a nightmare, but I've really it's been a bit of a hot mess. I've sort of really taken off any masking or filter on myself whilst filming this. So if I seem even more chaotic or what have you out there than usual, it's just I'm tired, and also I'm excited that it's Friday. And I've had too much caffeine. You add all those things together, and like, I don't really have an ability to mask. So the like full-on hyper version of me comes out, and it is what it is. I'm not going to try and film this video a third time, because, you know, if people don't enjoy it, they won't watch it, and that's fine. And if you've enjoyed it and you've made it nearly an hour and 10 minutes in, you deserve some kind of medal, or a snack, or something. I don't know. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to looking at the other VRs that are popping up to this. Simon, this was such a fun tag, and so I enjoyed filming this VR to you, even though it's somewhat of a hot mess. I was going to say hot sexy mess, but I don't think it was a hot sexy mess. I think it was just a hot mess. And yeah, it's been a ride. It's been a time. And let's just so we can squeeze that OG there we go. So yeah, it's been fun. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and for those of you that made it all the way to the end, maybe comment doing that thing that Anna Astral Lady Tarot does. If you've made it to the end, type in your comments. Green spider. That's the first thing that's come into my mind. Okay, so yeah, thank you for watching this, whatever this was. I hope that wherever you are safe and you are well. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend a little bit of it with me. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.